When it comes to casting vision, I think we often ask the wrong questions first. We want to know, where do I want to go and how am I going to get there? But there's actually a much more important question, and it's simply this: where are we? Where am I right now? Because the truth of the matter is, we often think we're someplace that isn't actually where we are. As the church is coming out and as organizations are coming out of the COVID era, let me give you an example of how that works. I recently had a coaching client of mine call me and ask for just some reminders about casting vision. Now, this is a really excellent, gifted leader who knows how to cast vision and has done a really great job, and just wanted some reminders and kind of a third party to help think it through again. And I said, well, actually, before we do that, we need to step back and make sure you are actually where you think you are. And as the more we talked about it, the more he realized, he was starting to cast vision from a place that wasn't where he and his church actually were. Let me kind of illustrate it this way. During COVID, a lot of us felt like we lost ground in certain areas. So we once were here, and now we're back here. And so when it comes to casting vision and figuring out where we want to go, we think the vision has to take us back to this place and then follow that same trajectory into the future. But the truth of the matter is, most of us aren't actually here just trying to get back on the path to where we were. We're in a brand new place. So much has changed that we need to step back and actually start all over, not make the assumption, let's just get a running start on the path that we were once on before. And though COVID and all that has gone on with it has highlighted this, it's actually something that matters pretty much any time you're stepping back to start vision, because we almost always are in a little bit of a different place than we think we are. And we don't realize that because we're so on the go, we haven't had the ability to step back and look at things. So I want to walk you through a little process that will help you get a better sense of where you are so that you're ready to ask the next question: where do we want to go and how do we get there? You've maybe heard the old saying that you need to work on your business as much as in the business. Now, that's one of those cliches that everybody kind of nods their head and says, oh, yeah, that's so true, and we really have no idea what that means. I know it's kind of like when you talk about churches, a church of small groups or with small groups. Sounds great, and what does that really mean? So let me step back and help you get a better understanding of what it actually means to work on your ministry rather than only in your ministry. Think of these two words: employee and consultant. When you are doing the things that you do in your job as an employee, you are working in the ministry. In a lead pastor role, when you are planning a sermon, when you're delivering a sermon, when you're doing a wedding, when you're doing a funeral, when you're having a staff meeting, when you're answering some concerns that people might have, all of those things are working in the ministry. You have the role of an employee. But there are other times, and to do this, you've got to get away. It can't just be a few moments here and there. You've got to get away. But there are other times where instead of being an employee, you are a consultant. I know at North Coast Church, one of the things I always loved was sharing the pulpit. We started that before North Coast Church was 200 people. And part of the reason was I realized if we were going to hit 200, 300, 400 people, much less the thousands that we hit later, that I needed some time to be able to think about North Coast rather than just work in North Coast. And the thing that happened was anytime I was preaching, in the back of my mind, the number one thought always was that sermon. Even when I wasn't aware of it, it was kind of back there, always thinking about it. But the weeks I wasn't preaching and was in town, not traveling somewhere at a conference or speaking, whatever, I woke up and I was going to be in town all week and someone else was preaching, I would wake up and suddenly go, instead of what does 1 Samuel 12 say, I would wake up and go, why does our website suck? And it was that time frame and the stepping out that would allow me to work on the ministry instead of in it. Here's another word picture that might help you understand where you are, along with stepping out as a consultant, asking yourself, what would I say if I was consulting this church, this ministry, this business? The other one that you might do is simply step back and say, what if I was a new leader? For pastors, step back and ask yourself, what would you do if you came in as a brand new pastor to fix up the mess that old pastor, you, made? every time somebody steps into a new role, every one of you that have ever done that, where you've stepped into a new role and followed somebody, immediately you begin to see a bunch of things. You wonder, why didn't they take care of this? Why didn't they do that? You see all kinds of changes that you would make. But somehow, as inertia starts to take over, as we're working within a ministry and we're working in it, not just on it, we no longer see those things. It can be a very fun exercise to just get away for a little while, grab a pad of paper, a digital device, and an iPencil or whatever it would be, and just start saying, what am I going to do now that I'm the new pastor, fixing the mess that old pastor made, even though that old pastor is me? Vision. It's not just about where are we heading and how are we going to get there. It starts with the most important question of all. Where are we? Not where do I think we are, where are we? And once you've got that one answered, you're ready to move on to the next ones.